It's Pride Month. Don't know if you've heard. And harrowing tale out of San Diego. A gay man named Scott Rowan was attacked. Here's him describing what happened to a network affiliate.
A routine walk turned into a nightmare for a Southern California man. 39-year-old Scott Rowan went to a restaurant in his San Diego neighborhood to inquire about a job. He says he heard two people yelling homophobic slurs at him, so he yelled back. Rowan, who is gay, says the next thing he knew, he was being doused with some sort of liquid and then set on fire.
Immediately after that, I went up kind of like coals on a barbecue. Instantly just went into flames. They were obviously out targeting the LGBT community.
Rowan suffered second-degree burns, mostly along his side and back. Not clear if he'll need surgery. He says this is definitely a hate crime, and he filed a police report.
It's terrible. Police have made an arrest in the case. They've arrested Scott Rowan.
He's the West Coast
Jussie Smollett.
Juicy Smollett.
Police statement. Investigators determined this man was the suspect who battered a pregnant woman from an earlier incident. Investigators have since determined the pregnant female was responsible for the burn injuries. Security footage shows, according to San Diego police, initial physical assault by the man on the pregnant woman and the subsequent use of fire as a weapon by the pregnant woman on the man, essentially to defend herself. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Well.
Oh. But why? Gee, I wonder why Scott Rowan thought he could play the victim and call it a hate crime. Gee, I wonder why he thought he could get away with that.
You know, they're looking, because I think the media is looking for any kind of incident they can find.
Well, more than looking, creating.
Well, yeah.
Creating.
But if a guy goes out there and says that this happened to me, they'll jump right on it and not check it out.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's like, and even the incidents that we referred to earlier this morning in New York City, where we're looking for incidents of racism, we're looking for homophobism.
Well, this is
looking for,
This is Will Riley's book, the Kentucky State Professor Hate Crime Hoax. That's what this is. And we have this view of America. We have this story that we're pitching, and if we don't get the supply we need organically, then we'll create it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's going on.
One other note here, since it is Pride Month, I don't know if you've heard. This dude had a message to the performative LGBTQ2A+++ folks over the weekend who were naked with children in Washington Square Park in New York City, on bike rides in Wisconsin, and otherwise engaging in all sorts of public depravity. This gay gentleman took to Rumble to respond to those representatives, per the media, the same media we're talking about, those representatives of the LGBT community that we're supposed to celebrate.
But if I hear one more person say that the reason conservatives are hating on Pride is because they're homophobic, I'm going to lose it. This here is a picture of a bunch of adults celebrating Pride with children in a fountain where clothing is optional. This here is an old man twerking in his underwear in front of children during the parade. It's not homophobic to say that Pride is about celebrating degeneracy and sexual activity more than it is about love and acceptance, because that's exactly what it is now. And the worst part about it is that people who don't know better, not to a fault of their own, will think that this is a reflection of all gay people when it's not. Like, I'm sorry that most of you guys probably don't get to take your clothes off in private because nobody's interested, but that doesn't give you free reign to do it in public in front of children. And people want to come after me for saying our community has privilege. If these people were straight, they would be arrested in an instant for indecent exposure. But because it's a pride parade, we're allowed to be naked in front of children. All I want is to be able to marry who I love, live my life free from discrimination, and to protect children from seeing naked people in the streets. I don't quite understand how in 2023 that's a controversial stance.
Well, maybe somebody can help us understand why it is. Joy Pullmann joins us now. She's the executive editor of The Federalist, thefederalist.com. Joy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
You wrote recently that pride is the flag of American occupation. Expand on that.
Well, I think it's very clear if you just walk around in many people's neighborhoods, the flags for other countries and other ideologies than the one, enshrined in our Constitution. And many neighborhoods outnumber the flags for the American symbol, the American flag. And people may be a little confused by the idea that pride is a flag of American occupation, but you have to understand that this flag is now the flag of identity politics. If you look at the latest iterations of the flag, they include, the ideas of racial distance, racial opposition and harassment and enmity. As they're incorporating stripes for every single skin color except the lightest one. I don't like to say white because I feel like that's the sheet, color of a sheet of paper. Well, white people are pink, I would say, or something like that. Anyway, but the point being, identity politics itself is at war with the equal for all universal guarantees to every citizen in our American Constitution. So folks, looking for these identity politics government privileges are basically wanting to transform our system of equality before the law for all people into a system of special carve-outs for protected groups. And those two kind of ways of having law and society are completely incompatible. You can either have equal rights that are equally applied to all, or you can have, warring identity groups who are pitted against each other, basically to serve the purposes of the elite. But we can't have both, and those two are at war. And the pride flag is the flag of the occupation that wants to destroy the historic American idea of absolute equality under the law.
She's absolutely on point with that one. And I particularly am disgusted when they put that black stripe on those some pride flags, because then they co-opt the suffering of black people into this movement, when in fact we are forgotten. We don't see too many of the rest of the rainbow marching down 79th Street in Chicago. But they've co-opted our struggle, which is a legitimate struggle, which is a historic struggle, and co-opted into this. They call it intersectionality, I guess, but I don't. I don't. We don't necessarily need that, because we don't really see any help coming from any other quarters, or enough help coming from other quarters. This is. I agree with you, Ms. Pullmann.
Well, and you're probably aware, Charles, right? Not only is there an obvious difference between your skin color, which you're born into and you don't get to choose, and the behaviors that people choose to do sexually, right? The two are completely different categories.
Completely different.
But again, as you point out, this is really about kind of using a tribal and coalitional politics. And really, the coalition doesn't fit together very well, but they're united against the other, so there has to be some other to hate. So currently it's white people, white heterosexual Christians is made into the other, but it could be any other group, that just serves the purpose of uniting people who really don't share a lot actually inside these identity politics so-called groups that, that these interests want to section people off into, that they don't fit into really well. The purpose, of the only way to unite people who really don't have, a lot of shared interests is to kind of give them someone to hate. And that's why identity politics is really something that strikes at the heart of, our unity as American citizens. And again, really achieving what, you can speak for yourself, but I know, many famous black leaders, they wanted the promise of America, the Constitution, to be applied to them, its protections equally, applied to them, and them granted full equal citizenship as American citizens, as opposed to, special privileges created for some groups and not others, which, as black people well know, if the government gives special privileges, it can take them away.
The point the gentleman made, the gay gentleman who had a message to all these people that are behaving grotesquely on the streets of America's cities. What is, why do you feel the need to be naked in front of children, and bring children into this environment? Why do you feel the need to behave in a depraved way in a public setting, in a way, as he said, that if you were heterosexual, you wouldn't get away with? If you weren't part of a pride parade, you wouldn't get away with? Well, why does the left insist on that as part of their activism?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. And so I can, just think of two off the top of my head. The first is that this is a little known dirty secret that isn't talked about, but the influence of pornography on sexual identification. There is research, again, that it's not talked about, but there's a great American Greatness, a very long article, I think, from 2018 or 2019 by Pascal Emmanuel Gobry that goes through the research if folks want to look that up, if they want to find it. But the fact is that when people are addicted to pornography, they look for weirder and weirder kink. And that accounts for at least part of, for example, the transsexual explosion. But, the problem with that is, if you're an addict, just like with drugs or any other substance, after a while, the stuff you're looking at doesn't give you the same highs it used to, so you need something a little weirder. So, I think that is part of the account for bringing kids into this. So that's item number one. And I think the second one is that, even though, there's a huge amount of validation available to the LGBTQ, like you say, plus IA identity in our society, huge amount, there's still some part of them that, just needs, to grasp for even more validation from other people. Basically, there's an insecurity, I think, at the core of that identity that says, nothing is ever good enough, to validate my identity. Every single person who disagrees with me must be shut up, converted, or erased, right? So I think that is the reason that applies to kids is that so kids are kind of this talisman of acceptance, right? If a kid accepts you, they're innocent, they're pure, and it's kind of like a way of using other people to, basically deal with your ego problems. But that's wrong. Adults shouldn't be using kids to make them feel better, whether trying to get their kids, to do really well in sports to make their parents look better or any other reason. They shouldn't be doing that for their sexual identity either.
I'd say. Joy Pullmann, executive editor of The Federalist, thefederalist.com. Joy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The 4th of July is an important holiday for all Americans. Hi, this is Joe Cordell of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. For some husbands, however, in troubled marriages, holidays are marked more by hardship than harmony. If you're such a guy and considering divorce, know all your options, including alternatives to divorce. We advise, we advocate, and when necessary, we litigate.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Springfield area attorneys. 2815 Old Jacksonville Road, Suite 103, Springfield, Illinois, 62704.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
You can shed that fat, be slimmer for the summer. No more wearing cover-ups or T-shirts in the pool. NJ Diet will help you the natural way. There are no shots, no hormones, and no surgery. You'll lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40-plus pounds in only 40 days with NJ Diet. They use your hair, saliva, and blood work, along with bioenergetic scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get your body into the fat-burning zone so you can finally lose the weight. Then NJ Diet uses DNA info to help you keep it off. Best of all, it's contractually guaranteed. You're fully supervised the entire time to make sure you're burning fat, not just losing water. And you even get Dr. T's personal email and phone number. Dr. T is the founder of NJ Diet. NJ Diet has locations close by in Skokie and Oak Brook, or is available from home with live online video consultations. Call 855-5-NJ-DIET or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com.